Round 6 is in the books, and the Knights season is in absolute freefall. It's probably looking worse than the Panthers, because we know that they have the pedigree to turn that back on. And sorry for the voice in advance, just got the sniffles today. Hopefully it goes away quickly. But yeah, a tough game, tough 2 weeks for the Knights there. Absolutely sucking, and we'll get into that. They haven't scored a point in 2 full games, which is crazy. But the 5 things I learned for round 6, the quick wrap up of the week, my tipping, the fantasy tip of the week there, and the Sharks and the Roosters, they steadied the ship with really important wins there across the weekend, with the Sharks coming up against a very formidable opponent in the Eagles away from home, both those teams, and yeah, so a neutral venue for them. Sharks taking their home game away. For them to get a win was very, very important for them. They up until this one, they were tied with the Cows on the ladder in terms of wins, which is not expected at all. And they're a team that wants to be sitting in that top 4, and they weren't very, very clearly even close to the 8 with the 2 wins in the first 5 games. So 3 out of 6 for them, not too shabby, and yeah, it's a very, very important one. And then the Roosters on the other side, 26-16 victors over the Broncos as well. So both teams winning well against good opposition. So for the Roosters to go to Suncorp and get that win there was very, very impressive as well. And they right the ship. And we'll get into the ladder a little bit later on. But yeah, some of the guys really stepping up for the Sharks, especially through the halves. And they have so many weapons. But defensively was where both these games were won, keeping both teams under 20 points. And you can see that across every single game this week. All of the winners kept the opposition under 20, and the Eagles there were the closest with 18. Panthers at 12, Titans 16, Broncos 16, Rabbitohs 16, Eels 12, Warriors 14, and the Knights scoring right at the end with 4 points. Actually, what did I say that kept scoreless? They were scoreless until 78th minute, and a little ricochet stuff up from the Tigers got them that try. Sorry for that. But yeah, defense wins, as we always see, and it showed in these matchups. They're definitely number 2 on the list. Dolphins and the Cows absolutely building, and the Cows get the 24-16 victory over the Bunnies, who did lose a few players, but they've got the Trell back and Aiken back in this game, and to go away from home as well and get this win, 3 in a row leading into the bye. I don't know if that is actually helpful or not for him, given it may give them a chance to lose some type of momentum, but a really, really incredible win for them and keeps them moving in the right direction. And speaking of the right direction, Dolphins, absolutely incredible in their victory over the Panthers, following on from their victory over the Titans last week. 30 plus points in both of those matchups, and keeping their opponents to 10 and 12 points there was very, very impressive, and something they can build off over the next few weeks. And Coach Wolf will be breathing a sigh of relief, similar to that with Todd Payton for both his sides and their tenure as coach. Very much needed some good wins there. And against decent teams. It's not like they beat up on the Eels like Raiders did, and congrats to them, but there's not too much to say on that. They lost Lomax as well, and they put 50 on them, which is absolutely incredible, and they needed this little turnaround after a tough few weeks for them in round 3 and 4, was that right? Yeah, for them to bounce back and have the 3 on the trot as well was good news for them, I think, or 2 on the trot, whatever it is. And yeah, Cowboys and the Dolphins in good stead now moving forward, and the Dolphins come up next week against the Storm. That's going to be tough. So they really needed those couple of wins before coming up against, by far, the best team in the comp right now. Let's move on to number 3 there, is the ladder check. So Bulldogs up top with the bye that they just went through. They're by far and away in the lead right now with that 12 points in those games, with Storm having lost the one clash, but they're still the team to beat, I believe, along with the Dogs right now. Broncos in 3rd there. Even after their loss, we had the Raiders in 4th with a couple of good wins in a row, as we said there. Yeah, so they won 2, lost 2, won 2 again, and yeah, lost against the Cows, so up the Cows. Bunnies with their loss still sit in 5th. Warriors with their really poor loss, unfortunately losing a lot of players was rough there. You lose Chance to the head knock. You lose Fish pretty early against the best team in the comp, in my opinion. It makes it very, very difficult, but thankfully for them, they're still sitting 3 wins out of 5 clashes. Tigers with their win surge into the 8, which is good work. And then Eagles sitting there in 8th position with Sharks in 9th. My Cows there with 3 on the trot, still in 13th, along with the Dolphins with, the Eels in a tough spot. Down there with the Panthers, so the Battle of the West, 16th and 17th, really, really tough. And as I said there with the Roosters, really good win for them. Dolphins, Cows, 3 very important wins to keep them off the bottom of the ladder and moving in the right direction. We have to have Knights well down on this leaderboard. On this ladder, the way they're playing. And a good win from the Dragons as well to absolutely trounce the Titans there. And you see a bunch of good teams up the top there, and then a few of the what we thought would be better teams there sitting in the middle. And it's very, very hard to work out, apart from the Eels and the Panthers right now and the Knights. The quality that they're throwing out isn't very high, and they're allowing teams to put on points against them. And that's making it tough for sure for the other teams to work out, who's on, who's off, because we thought teams like the Dolphins and Cows were good matchups, but unfortunately at the moment they're not so easy to go up against, and we only know a couple of teams that are in that good bracket there. The Knights, man, they absolutely suck right now. The attack is non-existent. They're giving Ponga absolutely no ball right now, and guys like Phoenix Crossland has got his hands on the ball more than their best player, and that's happened for multiple weeks in a row. Greg Marzhew under the high ball is just diabolical right now. They go forward through the middle with Leo Thompson was really good in this game. Missing out on a few of their guys. Guys like Dylan Lucas were absolutely incredible for him. Thomas Cantor, a really good... Thomas Cant, to say it properly, is a really good addition to this side, and I think he has to stay in because their defense is really poor. Their ball handling, terrible as well. So they've got plenty to work on, and this attack has been a problem for a couple of years now. Last year it was terrible. The year before was humming for about a couple of months there, and that's all we've seen from them in the last few years was that stretch of games, which got everyone excited, and they had some good attack in the first few this year. But if you jumped on the Knights stack, which unfortunately I have in Supercoach there and did have at the start of the year with Ponga and Lucas, it's very much failing for fantasy right now. So condolences to those that are holding Knights players. I feel ya in Supercoach and Dream Team at the moment. But yeah, plenty to work on for the Knights, and the bounce back players this year and this week I want to mention, and it is a couple of Dolphins there in Hammer and also Averillo. I thought they were really impressive in this one, especially in attack. And yeah, it's just something we hadn't seen from the first bunch of weeks from Hammer was his really good attack, and Averillo really dominated as well. And from the Cows there, we had Reece Robson and Ruben Cotter, who were spectacular as well. And it's easy to see with Robson, if he's running the footy, if he's got good defensive numbers, then he's playing really well. And he hasn't been able to run the footy for the first bunch of games, but it's partly his fault, partly the team's. But they've been having a little bit better ball handling, better go forward, and he's really benefited on the back of that and warming up into Origin time, which is great for a Blues fan. And then Cotter getting back to his base stat best from fantasy is great, but just for their team, they really need his work through the middle and him to not have too many errors and penalties there. And then Billy Smith, just a big bounce back from injury for him. We know how much talent he does have, but it's great to see it on show. So I wanted to shout out him in this one. And then moving to my round 6 tipping, it was 4 out of 8 this week. Getting a few wrong there. That Knights one in there, not picking the Cows against the Bunnies, thinking that they could do a good job at home, led by Latrell, which wasn't to be. And then, didn't pick Roosters against Broncos, and then just one more there. So 4 out of 8. Solid without being great. Sticking strong in my family tipping comp. I think most people are tipping the same right now. And to finish it off, guys, the fantasy tip of the week, we're looking at the wing fullback Wasteland. Looking at it, it probably corrects itself next week, given, last week we had a few of these cheaper guys like Tamale, Yongi, Jenkins. These kind of guys do pretty well. And this week it was, Brimson, and then the centers were looking fairly solid with Stafford Toa, with Purdue, with Katonga, these types of guys. So center's not too bad, but there are a few guys in there you can trust at the moment in teams that are doing pretty well. Wing fullback is tough with Ponga really struggling right now. You do have guys like Brimson, like Garrick doing a really good job, Jaden Campbell, Latrell, all doing a good job, and they're the players that I think we need to look at potentially targeting. It's crazy enough that we can say Brimson is, but those guys playing at 6, we saw even Fletcher Sharp in an absolute drubbing, picked up a try at the end, but scored 48. He's defending in the front line, which is great, and there are certain players out there doing some good work, and those that are really struggling in tougher teams. So I think getting that one right, because of how well players in other positions in the mid-range and in the mids and edges and that are doing, in the halves even, that we can spend a little bit of money to get the wing fullback in a better spot, and centre as well, be able to trust those types of guys, and we can rely on mid-rangers and some of the guns in the other positions to continue doing their great job. And, for myself, I had a bunch of guys in, cheaper guys like Hubner and all that doing really well, and unable to play those types of guys because I'm sitting there and have a lot of people in those positions that are doing well, and then not a great deal in wing fullback that are getting the job done. So I'll be adding to my half slot or the wing fullback slot next week, and then try and improve that, play Brimson and things like that. So if you're sitting in that situation, just shore that position up a little bit, I think, over the next few weeks, and do have a look ahead at your buy planning heading into round 7, round 8. I think just have one eye on it. Don't overload too early. I think this week was not the week to overload. Next week probably the same, but from there I think we can start to think about it. Whether you're holding trades over the next few, that's fine too, because it means you can use 1 or 2 extra close to Origin or in Origin week, and you can go from there. So thanks, guys. We'll leave it at that one for this short and sharp video, and we'll see you tomorrow for my update on those final 2 games.